Hello, good evening, and Om Shanti to everybody who's present here and those who are present online. Can you hear me properly? Great. So, welcome for this wonderful evening today. And does anybody know the topic of today evening? Anyone? Yeah. Yeah. How to think and be like a yogi, right? And it's quite interesting because we never think that we could be yogi unless we sacrifice or we renounce the worldly life and go into the Himalayas and then just practice meditation and renounce the world path. This is very interesting that whilst living in this world, in a family life, can I still be a yogi? Or can I still think like a yogi? So, to mark the International Day of Yoga, we've got a wonderful panel today here. And I won't take much of your time, but introduce the panel to you. So, first of all, we have someone very special who has been practicing meditation for over 4 decades now. And she had started learning about meditation as a child. And she is a full time volunteer, a dedicated surrender sister in the Brahma Kumaris with a very rich experience. So I would welcome Sister Kanan to come on stage. Yeah, a good round of applause for her. Our second panelist is Birijit, and he is a young professional who has finished his graduation in aeronautical engineer and working with British Airways right now. And he also has been practicing meditation and has a balance. He's somehow cracked it, the balance between professional life, social life, spiritual life. So I would like to call Birijit, we call him Biru with love. So Biru on stage. And our panel is going to be an intergenerational panel. So we've got a sweet little 14-year-old Krishna with us. And Krishna studies. She goes to school every day. And with her mom at home, she practices some kind of meditation or pauses and a way of living that her mom teaches her. So I would like to call upon Krishna. Can we have a round of applause for her courage? So wonderful. Welcome to everyone who's on stage here. So we're honored to have you as a panelist. And I'm sure you would have also thought about this topic since few days on how to be like a yogi. Um, Seeing that each one on the panel has a different background, right? Would you agree? Has a different lifestyle. They come from different walks of life and different age group, different generation, right? We've got Gen Z and we've got Gen Alpha and we've got, I don't know which generation you belong to, but I think, yes, so we've got different generations here. And one question, but different answers. So today we're going to divide this into wonderful, because I have got a lot of questions and I'm very curious to see how a 13-year-old would think what a yogi is and how a matured yogi thinks what a yogi is. It's going to be a beautiful, wonderful spectrum today of chat that we're going to have together. So I would like to start with you, Sister Kanan. Because I think she's a yogi. We all know she looks like, and she's got that beautiful aura around her. What do you consider? I mean, you've been practicing meditation for 40 years, more than 40 years actually. And what do you think, in essence, a yogi is? Not just in practice, but what is the essence of the word yogi?
So thank you, Nidhi Ben. And when you asked that question, and I was reflecting for a few days and chatting with a lot of yogis about it, and each one gave different answers. So it gave me churning space to think about, well, what would I answer if I was asked? And it's very simple, connected to my true self. And that true self is connected to the divine. And this true self connection with it is that unique me, that I am the way I am wherever I am in this world. It's me coming from that eternal space. And so I would define a yogi as someone who's very cheerful, knowing who they are, and yet able to see everyone's uniqueness at the same time, because we are all unique. Yes.
That's a very interesting question. Answer. I have a question for that. Normally when you hear yogi, you think somebody who's very peaceful, don't you? Very serene, very peaceful, very composed, very calm, all together, have sorted life. And Sister Kanan is bringing a different dimension. And she's saying somebody who's cheerful. Right? Have you seen a yogi always smiling and laughing? Yeah. And I think it stems from that feeling that when the mind is peaceful, the inner happiness shines, right? Biru, what do you think about that? The question that I have for you is, in modern day, you've been working. How would you think, how would you interpret being a yogi amidst deadlines, travels, ambition, stress, and still being cheerful and peaceful? What is yogi for you?
For me, I was thinking it's one who lives the life that you're meant to live, play the role that you are playing, whether it's a father or mother or any sort of profession, a student, doing what you have to do, but doing it with a smile. And having that deep understanding that the situations and the challenges don't define you, but you are something greater. A beautiful quote comes to mind: "This too shall pass, whether it's good or bad, it's temporary." So it's more of understanding what is permanent. So I think that's how a yogi lives, or that's the life of a yogi.
So when you're in the professional world, when a lot of deadlines and travels and ambitions, and there's a lot of things to be balanced, I think this clarity that you're bringing onto the table, Biru, is about having the balance and patience and the awareness that whatever happens is a drama and we all are playing. So I can detach myself and be stress free. Is that what you really mean?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Krishna, yeah. What do you think makes someone a yogi? Have you seen somebody, or when you see somebody and you think, yeah, that person looks like a yogi? Does somebody come across in your mind? Or how would you describe a yogi? Help her get the mic.
For me, a yogi is someone who has awareness of themselves, someone who observes with detachment, and someone who has a very peaceful mind and is always content. And he has a very stable and clear mind. For me, my yogi would be my mother, not because it's about attachment, but because I see that she herself is a detached being, and her journey throughout life is about, there may be certain ups and downs and difficult choices that she has to make, but she does her actions and she does her karma with full awareness and full responsibility, and being that I am a being. And right now, a yogi for me is someone who is fully in awareness, in the present, and they know what they're doing, and it's just about their uniqueness and how they are presenting to everyone.
It's a wonderful articulative answer. But you've brought up this word detachment. What do you understand by detachment? I'm curious to know. What is the meaning of detachment for you?
For me, detachment is when you're not connected to a lot of stuff physically, but you're connected spiritually. And For me, that means that you, in a relationship, you're neither a sibling or a mother or a father or a student. You are just a being who is observing everything and who doesn't make any judgments from their perspective, and who's just openly having that acceptance with everything.
Wonderful. Isn't that profound from a 13-year-old? Right? So let us take a moment of pause here. And a question to all of you in the audience. The panel has brought up a lot of qualities that they associate with the word yogi. What are the qualities you would associate with yogi? Just take a moment of silence and just visualize yourself being a yogi. What are the qualities that come up for you? Thank you. Could you share a few? What is that came up for you? And those who are online watching us on YouTube or Facebook, you could always put a comment and we'll get to know your answers as well. Anyone?
Selfless.
A yogi is altruistic, selfless. What else? Compassion and kindness. Composed, grounded. What else do you think qualities would associate with the yogi? Innocence. That's wonderful. It's very interesting, no? Because when we celebrate the International Day of Yoga, the first thing that comes to our mind is posture. And now when we're talking about yogi, we're not talking about posture. We're not talking about a fit and healthy person. We're not talking about somebody who's got 6 abs or who's got a little nice biceps or triceps or healthy body. But we're talking about somebody who's got a healthy life. And that's very interesting for me to know at this moment. And if we are not talking about just the postures, but a yogi is a lifestyle. And many of you did mention, especially the panel and our audience as well, that yogi is someone who's got a stable mind, a clear mind, a peaceful mind. Sister Kanan, what do you feel the role of silence is there in a life of a yogi? And how does that anchor you to peace? Because silence and peace are different. And could you share a practice where what you use to bring yourself to that peace again?
Beautiful question. And the word silence always connects me to a silent retreat that I went to. And in that retreat, the criteria was you were not allowed to take any book or any phones. You were not allowed to take anything that had some text or music. And nor were we allowed to even do anything. We weren't allowed to help even. So that took also the actions that we were used to, connecting with others on a physical way out. And so it was very interesting for the 9 days, and we were not allowed to speak. We were not allowed to even look at each other's faces. So it was a very interesting retreat. And we had ample time to walk, ample time to journal, ample time to really reflect. And we had questions that we're allowed to tap into and explore about the journey of our life. And so after that, I realized all the energy that I had was taken away by materialistic things around me. Because when I had all those things out of my system for 9 days, I had a huge amount of energy. So much energy that I remember walking for 45 minutes up and down the hilltop right to the seaside and back, which I wouldn't have had managed before. it would have been like, could somebody take me in a car, you know? And I managed. And it was a sign to show that real silence allows your soul power to come out. And the barriers that we hold in our mind, they just go. And I then realized how much energy gets consumed with materialism around us, with noise, with sound, with electrical equipment around us, with action, because we're always looking for something to do. And that all out of the picture. And so, yes, it was important to have that detox time. But at the same time, the question you asked is, how is that related to the peace that a yogi experiences? Well, my thoughts were like settled. It felt like there was a settlement happening, and I no longer needed certain thoughts, and no longer certain thoughts of bothering me. They just went away. They weren't in my attention or awareness, and I'd cleared so much. And so that peace of mind helped me to actually appreciate God a lot, God's power, but my own internal potential that was, locked, and it was now unlocked. So I was able to enjoy life even more than before. And I think others noticed when I traveled back to Mount Abu after that retreat, back to seeing all the yogis there. And it was like a big refreshment. And one of the realizations I had, and I asked Adi Janki at that time, is out of the silence retreat, I feel, I have to do so much more to stay in this yogi life, but it's not easy. It was easy after a retreat, but how do we maintain? And she asked that same question to Brahma Baba, the founder of the organization. And Brahma Baba said that to her too. He said, it's okay. He understood the situation, but what would a life be if we didn't have yoga? Imagine that. So that really created a sense of, a feeling of compassion and mercy, that if we didn't have yoga, what would it look like? If we didn't have silence and time to reflect and connect and be and create that energy in the heart, that clean space, it would be quite difficult to manage. So just keep on.
It's a very interesting thing that you brought up. Being a yogi, you went on a detox, right? And was it easy for you? Because if you ask today's generation, or even not generation, today, anybody in today's world to leave their phone for 4 hours, is that easy? There's something missing, no? Like all our dopamine, and there's a crash there, and we need it more, and we want to go back to our phones. This is the culture of boom scrolling, right? You just scroll on Instagram and this and that, and then suddenly there's no support that you've been seeking. There's no distraction. Just left with yourself. Isn't that scary?
The thought was a little bit, because they did ask me, are you sure you're going to manage? Are you okay? Because I'm a person also who even though you may say, is this yogi look? But yeah, I do go into those challenging moments where I do feel, okay, let me do something. I like doing. I'm a doer, actually. I enjoy doing. I always think what next to do, And here I'm not even allowed to help clean or help cook. So that would be a bit difficult for me. Everything else was easy to let go. But then to let go of the action was the thing I was thinking, will I manage that? That's part of my giving. And funny enough, it was okay. I managed very well, surprisingly enough. And I was relieved, and I thought, wow. So what one would think that would be an issue, it wasn't, actually.
So you're trying to say that if I or any one of us take this courageous step to say no to our mobile phones, or say no to all the distractions that we have for, like, say, a day or two. I'm not saying 9 days, because that would be too much for us, right? But at least for a day or two, or maybe a weekend. But when we meet ourselves, there might be a lot of emotions that would come up on the surface, which I am trying to hide, or which I'm saying, just putting it under the carpet kind of thing. And now, because there's nothing else to do, no distractions, how many of you have gone through that phase of life when something is bothering you? You say, okay, let me just get on with other things, and you forget about that, and that goes into your subconscious. And those moments of silence would allow it to come back on the conscious. And that scares a lot of people. To facing the world might be easy, but facing yourself sometimes is trickier. So, what tips could you give us? Because you've experienced that yourself. So, when we start facing ourselves and we're not sure of what emotions are coming and I don't know how to handle, how would a yogi mindset deal with those situations or deal with those self emotions?
It was beautiful because we did have half an hour each day where we were able to speak, but it was tailored to the questions we were asked. And so it's not that you do it alone necessarily, it is guided. And so when you're guided, it's safe. But I always feel that writing helps hugely. When I write to myself, I release a lot, and a lot of answers come for the questions I have. And if there's any hidden pain or trauma that are stuck, then they begin to melt away. Because all it is just a thought, a memory that has been kept unnecessarily in the back boiler that has been surfaced. And so I don't need to fear that. I need to wait for it to come out so I can release it. It's like, oh, how long do I have to take to get out of my system? Let me get it out. So it's not like I need to fear my anger or fear the emotion or the suppression. I don't need to. Actually, I need to feel that how much can I clear it out? Because the person or the event or whatever that sanskara or habit, that trait or experience in the memory or what had been in the soul, it needs to be dissolved. Right? We do all need to face that. But I don't fear it. I understand it. It's something I can change. It's something I can will to God and say, okay, let's work this out and clear it. And once done, it's easy. Because what are they? They're just thoughts and feelings and memories that we are keeping alive unnecessary, which is just easy to deal with. You just have to let go of it. And the next wave will come. I just need to know how to work with the waves of these emotions. That's it.
So you sit, you face, you understand,
Mm-hmm.
and you build a relationship with it.
Yes.
Have you tried building a relationship with yourself? And I know you meditate a lot. How do you use meditation during your work, like in your professional life? Do you have stressful do you be stressed ever?
I think I'll be lying if I said no.
Okay, so how do you use meditation when you get stressed?
I think we all love to hear experiences and stories. It's very relatable in our own lives. So I would like to share an experience I had at work. So I traveled to Madrid, and it was a work trip. And the trip finishes around Thursday, Friday-ish. And this happened last year. I'm just recalling from memory. But so what I decided to do is extend my stay. So over a weekend, I stayed over at someone I know. So I stayed in their house and we kind of explored Madrid. And my flight was on Monday at around 4 or 5 p.m. And the next day, so this is a flight back to Heathrow, back to London. The next day, so on Tuesday, I had a really important meeting. And my manager told me, Biru, whatever happens, make sure you're there for that meeting because I'll be chairing it. He won't be there, so I'll be chairing it amongst all the key stakeholders of the business. I was like, all right, cool. I mean, what's going to go wrong? Like, Monday's a flight. I'll be back home in time. Next day is a meeting. So we get to Monday. And it's around 1 p.m. I'm getting ready to go to the airport. And guess what? I get a message. And I'm sure many of you might have had that experience. The message was like, I'm sorry to inform, but your flight has been cancelled. So I see that message and I'm like, oh my days, what could have happened? Like, what's the worst could have happened? So the next thing I know, I start thinking so much. I'm like, oh my God, like tomorrow's a meeting. I need to get onto the next flight straight away. So I'm on call with customer service. And I was on call nearly an hour or whatever. And obviously, when there's a cancellation, everyone's on queue and whatever. So I'm speaking to the customer service person, and they're like, the next flight is actually around 3 p.m. on Tuesday, the next day. So what does that mean? I miss my meeting. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Such an important meeting. And this one time, my manager gives me a responsibility and I've crushed it. So that was my internal thought process. And what was even funny is that the place I was staying, they were quite elderly. So they were like, well, Biru, it seems like you're staying over for another night. Do you mind helping us with some gardening? And I'm here like, can you not see me stressing? Here I am missing a whole flight and they're calling me for a nice gardening. And I was like, okay, fine. I didn't think much of it. I just went for it. So I was told to like pick up the soil and put it on dig the soil and put the plant in that the place we dug. And I was digging and digging, and I noticed that physically I was digging, but my mind was with tomorrow. I was really thinking about that meeting. What is going to happen? I'm going to miss that meeting and whatever. And that's when I realized, that's when I kind of put a stop to my thinking. I was like, Biru, no. Don't think too much about tomorrow. If you think too much about tomorrow, you will lose this moment. I've always found that gardening is quite therapeutic. It's something that I did during COVID. So I realized that I was missing out on that time. And when I stopped myself, you won't believe it, I was able to just sort of carry on with the gardening and I was in the moment. And of course, we have the meditation routine. Like I meditate in the evening and then as soon as I wake up. So the next day morning, I wake up quite early and I'm having shower around 6 a.m. And sometimes they do say great ideas come when you're in the bathroom. So I was having shower and I have this idea, which was, why don't I call customer service just one more time? So I was like, okay, cool. So I come out of the shower and I get changed and I give them a call. And I'm like, is there any early flight possible? I really need to get on an early flight. And next thing they say is that there is no BA flight, but there's Iberia flight. And there's just one seat at 8 a.m. No, 9 a.m. And I was like, book me on. And luckily, the day before, I was already packed. So I was running off to the airport. I made it on time to the airport. I caught the flight. And guess what? I made it to the meeting because my workplace is in Heathrow itself. So I don't have to travel much. It's between Terminal 4 and 5. So it's literally one bus stop. So it just made me realize that how much time do we spend worrying and thinking about things that is literally not in our control? So that's how meditation has helped me. Really, it has helped me kind of develop that inner dialogue within. The more I meditated, the more I realized that we all have two important dialogues, conversations. One is with ourselves, and one is with the divine or higher power, whatever you want to call it. If these two conversations are weak, then whatever conversations I have with others or whatever situations I face, I'll be really pushed and pulled and really affected. So that was just one experience I thought of sharing, that how it really helped me to kind of tap back into that right dialogue with myself. It's not always going to be sunshine. That's what I've learned coming to spirituality or meditating. It's not always going to be perfect. There are going to be times where you will like go down the dip. But it's all about how you kind of use that dip to create that momentum to take that lesson and move up and progress. So that's how meditation has really helped me. And to be honest, in my workplace, every day is not the same. My work involves dealing with clients mostly, so I'm not even in my workplace. I'm more in my customer's office, just managing relationships and contracts. And I realized you really need to have a thick skin, especially working with people that have grown with their own companies. They're very blunt and they will just say things as it is. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it can come out very harsh. And that's where meditation has really helped me, where I become more detached. And I just realized that, you know what? The problem is not my fault. But of course, I'm representing the company, so I'm the first point of contact. So, of course, when they see me, boom, they're blurting out everything they want to say, all that anger or frustration because our delivery did not go well, it's going to come out on me. So I kind of use that energy to kind of change it in a way that I'm able to have positive relationships. So that's what I really love about my role. It's very intense, but I love the fact that I'm able to face like challenges and kind of create that nice relationship with customers.
Wonderful, very practical example, isn't it? And it reminds me of my learning where we said that when there is a situation, like what Buru's example reminds me of, you've got normally in worldly life, you've got two options. Either you accept it and absorb it and get stressed and worried. That was the first phase of your story. Or you reject it and you say, I can't be bothered about it, right? Which was like your second phase of the story. What meditation teaches us is the third thing, transformation. So when negativity comes, can I be a detached observer, see it coming towards me? I'm not accepting it, I'm not rejecting it, but I'm transforming it into something very meaningful that is connected with me. It's a wonderful way of living, I guess, right? To avoid all the worries and stresses. And that brings a question to my mind. Krishna, very sweet, right? I mean, the smile is so beautiful. You just forget everything. Do you ever get upset?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay. What do you practice to come back to your original state of being?
I think for me, I practice just silence because every day we're meeting with a lot of different energies and we're having conversations with so many people who carry very different energies.
So, do you meet so many people every day? Really?
Yeah. And obviously, we have to talk to so many people. And I get really upset. An example would be because I'm a prefect at school. And so my job is to observe, help out, and report. And a lot of the times when I'm observing, people think of it as I'm just talking to my friends and not doing an actual job. And again, they're going to get their frustration out to me. They're going to get angry. And sometimes it's quite overwhelming when we have a bunch of people coming to you and telling you that you're not doing your job correctly. Because when you know you're just being a detached observer and you're trying to figure out what's going on so that later on you can report it. And sometimes I feel like there's a lot of that energy of that can be negative sometimes, and that phase of them frustrating, making me feel frustrated, and I let them speak it. Whatever they want to say, they can say it. And I take it in and I understand where they're coming from as well, because obviously everyone has different perspectives and everyone feels a certain way because of how maybe they're treating themselves or how other people are treating them. So a lot of frustration is coming out on them. An easy example, football. How many people feel like there's two teams and one team is just being annoying and the other team is trying to play, but they just can't play because there's one team who's just being annoying. And there are 2 year groups in my school, year 8 and year 11. Year 11s, obviously, they have their GCSEs right now. Currently, they will finish in a few days. And the year 8s, they're still quite younger because it's their second year at this school. So year 8s feel overwhelmed because the year 11s are quite intimidating and they get scared because their ball is being taken away. Year 11s, how they're reacting with that frustration and being aggressive to them is because they themselves are stressed. So they're taking out that frustration and their fear of their exams on the year 8s. And the year 8s are then taking out that intimidation, that sense of fear on me. So it's not only, it's not
So much of pressure on a little one, right? I'm just amazed listening to that.
So for me, it's not just that one person is right and another person is wrong. Because everyone comes from a different background. Everyone comes from different perspectives. And linking to our topic, being a yogic, is to have that sense of acceptance and understanding with kindness and compassion of how people are feeling. And yes, we are all human beings. We all have those feelings of being hurt and upset, but it's about how you can control those emotions and how you can, like you said, transform them to make them positive. So a sense of compassion to the year 11s because they are GCSEs. So instead of sanctioning them with their detention and making their fear rise even more, their anger rise even more, we let it go because they weren't wrong and they weren't right either. They just had, again, a lot of emotions that were overwhelming them. And the year 8s, yes, they were getting bullied. Yes, they were hurt. And they are younger students. So they will feel a sense of way. So it's about accepting them as well. So when I get hurt, I like to be in silence. I like to listen to both sides of the party and I like to listen to what everyone has to say because that is a skill of leadership. And then I like to sit with all of those thoughts combined in silence. It's like a jigsaw. You have so many thoughts together, but they're just so put together and combined, and it's not an easy way to separate them. So you have to sit with yourself. Meditation is not just sitting there with your three hands folded in a mudras or like just sitting cross-legged. Meditation state is being in 24/7 state. You can always be in meditation. You can do your actions. You can go to work in meditation. You can go to sleep in meditation. You can go to school in meditation. You can write in meditation. You can even walk in meditation. It's about you're in your awareness, you're present of what you're doing, and how is that being with yourself and being silent helping you feel good and feel more relieved and have more of that sense of peace.
It's wonderful if a 13-year-old could sleep, walk, talk in meditative state. I think it's very inspiring for us to do the same, isn't it? Right? A lot of learning there. And you brought up a very interesting aspect of being a yogi is not being excluded, but it's active participation, right? It's
Yeah.
not about just being peaceful and being in a corner and thinking, yes, I'm detached, I'm different, but it's very active engagement and yet being composed, yet being grounded, yet being using it's like showing up to the world with a lot of virtues and qualities. And you brought up virtues like acceptance and compassion and patience and a very matured way of dealing the situation that you are sharing with us. And we would often want a world which is filled with values, right? We would, how about everybody thought like you in school, right? How about everybody thought of behaving maturely? I would think 80% of the world's problem would just solve because if everybody started listening to each and every one. But that's not the case always. People do talk about virtues and values, but in practical day and life, when things come, when situation comes, as you said, the emotion takes over and we do forget our values, we do forget our principles, our morality, and that's what's happening out there in the world. So when you are with people who are not practicing their values, you know, um, do you have an anchor value that you go back to? Or is that something, one virtue that you've learned in school or at the center or at home, that you know this will always help you no matter how much bad things are happening around you?
I think it's love.
Interesting.
When you have love, be it self-love, be it in a relationship, that kind of love, be it friendship love. But I think the most important thing is self-love, because you realize who you are as a being, who you are as a person, who are you going to be, how are your values and your moralities and your actions now going to help you in the future. And I think it's about when we are in that overwhelming situation, it's that kindness that brings out love. When you show kindness and compassion, that also incorporates a sense of love. I'm not saying because you physically love the person, because I know for a fact we don't love each and every person in this room. We may not even know most of the people here. But it's that love for yourself and the love that you have for each and every being, that love that you have for the divine, for God, and that connecting. And when you have the love for God and yourself, then everything just becomes so simple and easy, because you just see everyone as a soul or as a being, and like we're just clothes that we put on. Our body is just clothes. We wear clothes, new clothes every day. We take them off, we wash them, and we put on new clothes. The same is with our body. Every life we put on a different body, but our principles, our actions, our soul, it's all just the same. You take on, you're still the same person every time you change your clothes, right? You don't become from a girl to a boy, or you don't have different names every time you change your clothes, or you don't have different actions or different thoughts when you change your clothes. It's the same way. We're all beings, we're all people, and we all have a role and a part that we play in this world. And once that part is done, we change our clothes once again to play a different role, to play a different part and make a difference.
That's so profound and so basic awareness of a yogi, to know that you're not just this being of flesh and bones, but we are that spirit, we are that energy, we are that being. And if I am aware that I am that being, wonders can happen, because I'm not attached, I'm not camouflaged by my ego all the time, and I am able to see things with a beautiful perspective. And following that up, Sister Kanan, you have been practicing soul consciousness for a long time. And what's your experience in day-to-day life of being soul conscious? Because it's all about using this yogic values in our everyday life in today's world. And when you see that the world is going with so much ups and down and so much pain and trauma and fear, something is happening in one part of the world, and by the time you are just digesting the news, you get another news happening, something happening in another part of the world, and you're seeing how the world's moral values are declining. The climate is also showing its different forms. Do you think this practice of being soul conscious, or if I anchor myself in that awareness of being a soul or an instrument or maybe a trustee of this planet or of my existence, do you think that would bring up beautiful virtues in our day-to-day life? And how does this practice help us to bring our real self, like Krishna was talking about self-love, on surface? Because we love each other, we seek love, right? We want everybody to love us. When we talk about self-love, we get critical. So, does this practice of being a soul really anchor us? And if it does, what is that one value or virtue that the world needs today? And this practice would help it gain that.
Absolutely. The practice of being a soul at this beautiful point of light that we all are. And if we just keep that awareness that I am that being of light and that my brother and sister is also being of light, then it's like my vision touches their vision, which is important. It's just like a mother, if she feels good about her child, that child will feel the goodness. And so in this world where there are a lot of challenges, there are those news which you don't want to switch on and really absorb because it may disturb, and that disturbance will go into family and then the place and the work that you're in. And so you don't want to expose yourself to that level of energy, that frequency, because that level of frequency your mind is going to work at is what you're going to invest your spiritual power into. And that's what's coming back, because the law is whatever you give, so you get back. Whether it's in your actions, your words, or your thoughts, or your feelings, or your intentions, or even that vibrations, absolutely. Even the animals and plants will feel it. So you're right, actually, soul consciousness, without it, how will I be able to create that love? I can't really. I do need that attention again and again and again, and keep adding to that attention. And the practice of it is very simple. It's about realizing and becoming aware of that thought. It's not even just creating the thought, but I deeply in my heart feel I am. And I'm not expecting somebody else to be it either, or seeing whether they're not right, telling them or teaching them, can you be right? It's nothing about that. It's about me being true to keeping that energy alive. I am that soul. But together with that, I feel what works is a gratitude. Appreciation plays a huge role in accepting the things the way they are. Because there are, let's face it, there are things that we don't want to face in ourselves, but in others. And we know those moments. But if I've developed the intellect to actually see the goodness, value what's there, whatever is there, to maintain the state of my good feeling, then it's as if another door opens. Then it's as if I begin to tap into the divine, and that one does the work. It's not even me, I'm making that effort to connect to the divine, but the divine is connecting to me because I'm connected to this soul within me. And so he helps me. And something opens and shifts. And within that, there's a huge security. This is how we stay really safe. Our mind stays safe, our heart stays safe. There's a safety in the vibration. And so yogis really make you feel safe, even in the worst of situations. Take, for example, the 9/11 example, when we had someone who was a yogi in the tower, and he had just decided that he was going to go down, and he went down and he came out, and a few followed, and 5 minutes later the building collapsed. Now he had this touching and he came out. So think about it. If you are in that absolute present, where you are in that state of awareness, then suddenly energy comes. It just comes. And that can be misunderstood. Some people can say, oh, well, it's da 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 da. But that's okay. So long as you did something good, so long as the benefit came out. So never, because I do feel sometimes some people do say, oh, you're happy today, that means tomorrow you're going to be sad. Have you noticed that? So
if you laugh a lot, you'll cry.
Yes. So they prevent themselves from making the effort to be really soul conscious, because they've held a few belief systems in their subconscious which are triggered. And so that's what needs to be at bay, at watch, because they will be triggered. But then the trick is to be an observer of it that let it just be. Don't touch it. And so yogi doesn't touch anything that will stimulate or trigger the self's negativity or the negativity around. It will actually become aware like a lotus. It just slips off. Let it be, because you're in the world of mud, actually. But let it slip off you and you retain that beauty that you already are. That gives hope in others. Hope increases, courage increases, and then there's that sense of deep connectivity. I would use the word connectivity. You feel so connected to Mother Earth. You feel so connected to everyone around you. You go beyond the skin, beyond the language, beyond the age. You just go beyond. And that's the sort of alignment we want. And distance, time is not a barrier. The thought travels. And we know that, isn't it? When we remember someone so deeply and they phone or they send a photograph or they send a video clip, and you're like, yes, now I feel I'm there with you. That sense of closeness, it'll come. The vibrations grow.
It's very interesting what you say, because yoga itself means connection. So it's not about declaring that I'm going to be a sadhu or a yogi now, but it's about building that connection with yourself and with the divine. And my last question to the panel, and then I'll open the floor for questions to you. Biru, you've been balancing the world life, the professional life. You've also been practicing meditation. If any one of you are in the audience and those who are watching us online get inspired by all three of you today and would like to start something from tomorrow to be a yogi, what are the practices, simple steps? It's not about big declaration, but small steps that we could start with, we could begin with. What would you recommend for a yogic life?
So first thing is, have anyone heard of SOS? A few have, right? So SOS is a really nice acronym, and it's kind of easy for all of us to remember. So the S is, yeah, okay. So the acronym is SOS, very easy to remember. S is stop, observe, and steer. So if we have something called traffic control that we practice throughout the day. I'm sure many of you might have heard of it. So it's a way of pausing for a minute or even 2 minutes and just pausing what we're doing right now and bringing our attention to what we're thinking and our consciousness, our awareness. And stop, observe, and stare is more of something that I practice at my workplace, and it really helped me, especially when it's an intense environment. It helped me where I was able to just detach from my work, see things as it is, and then stare. So that is kind of directing the flow of my thinking. And it's very easy to actually direct our flow of thinking. We can call it affirmations, right? I'm sure many of you have heard of affirmations. I am a peaceful being. I'm a powerful being. So a simple, really simple step is practicing SOS throughout the day. Try to do it every 2-3 hours. And then slowly, you can start to do it every hour. But of course, every 2-3 hours is a good way to start. So SOS, stop, observe, and stare.
Thank you, Biru. Does anybody in the room have any questions? Or anybody online, does they have a question? I think it was pretty clear for us, right, what yogi is and how we could incorporate being a yogi by taking regular pauses, by having more of values in our day-to-day life. And Sister Kanan didn't bring up a beautiful expression, and she did mention the duality that we have in our mind and intellect. And if we are nurturing our intellects, then the inner conflict that happens with the mind and intellect comes to a pause. And that induces peace and silence within me. So I think just to finish it off, I would request Sister Kanan to take us into a very brief moment of pause so that we can experience the SOS that Viru has brought onto the table, and that would help us to set our yogic life on the mark. Right. Thank you.
So let us relax and allow your feet to be gently placed on the floor, and feel the chair that you're sitting on, and let go of all that tension that you're holding on to your muscles and shoulders and hands. Just release them, and keeping the eyes gently open, let us become aware that I am a being of peace, a tiny point of divine light situated in the middle of my forehead, behind the eyes. I, the soul, am connected to my true self, the eternal being of peace. And allow this peace to prevail into every cell of your body. Allow the waves of peace to transform your mind, your heart, and your feelings. And with a sense of cheerfulness, I connect to the Supreme Being, the Divine, who is the ocean of this peace, beyond the five elements in the dimension of the physical. I slip into the spiritual domain, where I, the soul, connect to this beautiful star, radiating like an ocean of peace, an ocean of love. My spiritual parent, the one who loves unconditionally, who purifies me, the soul, of all the layers of the past, washes and cleanses me, leaving me feeling light and full of might. And with this silence, there's a sweet feeling of safety. And when I return back here, now, in the middle of my forehead, behind the eyes, I return with a transformed sparkle, with a balance of detachment and love, with a stillness and stability. I hold the self like a lighthouse, guiding all the souls in this world around me to stay light, cheerful, peaceful and positive. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sister Kanan, for this wonderful meditation and taking us back into that moment of being and connected with ourselves. And before we call it the day, I would just like to let you know that I would request you to give a big round of applause to our panelists, especially the younger one, the little one who's got such a profound understanding and practice of being a yogi and a variety of experiences. Next Tuesday is going to be even more interesting because we're going to have another panel, and it's all about, it's a special event. We've got Sister Maureen with us, Philippa Backham, who is a journalist and a BBC radio broadcaster, and we've got Miguel, who works in the field of AI. And the next week, the topic is about awakening intelligence and how we have, the topic is AI and human consciousness for climate resilience. So, awaken your intelligence, AI, and human consciousness for climate resilience. So, I would request all of you to be here and explore this interesting topic with a very wonderful Miguel, who works with AI and IT guy, and Sister Maureen, who is uh, one of the pioneers, I would say, or a batsman of human consciousness. Um, and Philippa is going to interview both of them. So, most welcome for that. Tomorrow, 18th of June and 19th of June, we have a course which is in house, and it's all about emerging stronger and letting go of past. So, Wednesday, Thursday, 5:30 to 7 p.m. in the evening. So, anybody interested to let go of their burden and start the yogic life, you're most welcome to attend that session. Um, we're going to have every Sunday meditation from 10 to 10:45 online. So you're more than welcome for that. And those who would like to do it in person, Mondays and Thursdays in house from 7 to 7:30. So most welcome for all our sessions. And I would say a good kickstart to think about how we can have our yogi life. So, big thank you to everyone present here and those who are online. There's a wonderful book in the shop which says Explore Spiritual Greatness and How to Change Yourself and the World by Dadi Janki. It's a beautiful book. Um, do explore on your way out just to read what it is about and get more clarity on how we could be yogi. So thank you very much and have a safe journey back home. Om Shanti. And to all those who are watching online, I just got the numbers. There's more than 100 people watching us online. So big thank you to all of you too. Om Shanti. Good evening. Thank you.
Nidhi, thank you very much for the questions.